Hmm. Well, the first thing you don't do is you don't take no for an answer. Okay, the public don't want it. That's not going to stop us because we're determined, aren't we? We're determined to make the change we want to see. So don't give up. So here's the first solution. Okay, the public prefers rival genres. Well, that's not going to stop you. First thing you do, you close off the ability of rival genres to get out there. Okay, the second thing you do is you establish a monopoly on the publishing houses that put music out there. Okay, or the record labels, if you want to use more modern terminology. The third thing you do is you use cartel tactics and other methods to crowd out any new upstart to try to come in. Okay. Oh, we don't want to do your new genre. We're doing this genre over here because people like that. Well, you need to find ways to stomp on them using basically mafia-like behavior. And fourth, you ensure that to make it in this industry, okay, music acts, artists, writers need fidelity to your publishing house and the publishing houses that you and your group control. And going with any upstart is a career ender. Say, I can make you a star, kid. I can make you a star. But if you want to be a star, you have to be part of my gang. If you want to be a star, you work with me and my guys. You don't go over there. Otherwise, you're going to be the opposite of a star. You'll never work in this town again. Now, you may think that this is all kind of, hyperbole or stereotype or joke. It's not. And few industries in history have been more ruthless in this manner than show business. I mean, I even know from my own knowledge of pro wrestling, for example, Vince McMahon, love him or hate him, he used basically all of these tactics at one time or another. He also successfully broke a cartel early in his career. But he used all of these tactics. He threatened and bullied, networks and so on, that if they showed the product of his rival, you wouldn't get him, or, he blacklisted people. And that was in the 80s. Okay. So this is just like how, the entertainment biz works in some respects. But it's also like, if you have the dream or the plan of hacking the culture, of making your thing, putting your thing in front of the people rather than some other thing, basically these sorts of tactics seem like they have been necessary, especially if you're facing a skeptical public. And let's face it, the public is often skeptical. I mentioned pro wrestling. That was one of the huge taboos to overcome, that it was, all of those things would also apply to Vince in the 1980s, for example. But anyway, let's stick with the music idea. Second problem and second solution: the critics hate it. Well, the first thing you do is you personally attack, hound, and ridicule the individual critics who have taken against your genre. Maybe old Addison DeWitt finds himself, caught up in some sort of scandal. Oh, Addison DeWitt, he's a sex pest or something like this. Or, oh, Addison DeWitt, he's been caught taking money. Or Addison DeWitt, he's just an old idiot. But, you find some way to discredit that voice. You isolate the target and you discredit his voice, okay? You take away the problem by lessening his influence. Another strategy is to embed friendly critics in key newspapers, or failing that, simply just set up your own newspaper. If you've got the money and the resources, you could do that as well. Now, there could be an issue where this critic is too powerful or too influential to simply just replace, or, get him fired, or, damage his reputation. Maybe he just won't go, or maybe he's just too well established. So what you need to do then is set up a dialectic whereby his belligerent stance against your thing is actually a boon to you. Okay. in this dynamic, your genre is new, it's hip, it's trendy, it's cool, okay? And this old codger is a fuddy-duddy, he's old-fashioned, he's boring, he's miserable, he's a stuck in the mud, he's a prude, and so on and so forth, okay? And once you've set up that dialectic, the attacks of the old critic can then be worn as a badge of pride, okay? So this is another way of overcoming the obstacle and creating the culture hack, okay? Solution number 3, the venues won't book your acts. Well, I mean, first and foremost, you can use blackmailing, bullying tactics, the old mafia tactics, right, to try to force the venues to book your acts and not to book the acts of the other genres. That's one way. You can try to infiltrate the venues so that the manager of the venue is friendly to you, one of your guys. Okay, I mean, you just think of a landscape where your guys are little blue circles, right? And all of the people who are hostile to you, or all of the rest of culture, normie culture, is red circles. You want to replace all the red circles with blue circles in as many cases as possible, right? Now here we have a key decision maker, a little node of control that is preventing you from getting your act in. Now, most normal people would just say, oh, well, he said, no, we can't. What we're going to do, we can't book Carnegie, right? That's not like, if you're truly a kind of vanguard, right? A close-knit collective who moves in unison, and you're just not going to take that as an answer. It'll be like, right, we need to replace that red node with one of our blue nodes. We need to flip that node to make him friendly to us, one way or the other, okay? Failing that, you could simply just buy the venue. If you've got enough money, you could just buy out the venue. I don't know how much it would be to cost to buy Carnegie Hall, right? But you just need to somehow make him friendly, okay? You can use friendly critics and newspapers to publicly attack venues who won't play ball, right? Now, let's pretend that you can't get your bloke in to manage Carnegie. You can't influence the owner. Your bullying and your blackmail has failed and they've just stuck by their guns. Well, then you use your newspapers and your friendly critics and your writers and so on, just to relentlessly attack Carnegie Hall. It's not what it used to be. It's old fashioned. It's funny. It has become a symbol of everything wrong with America today. It's racist. You name it. You just find something to fling at Carnegie until they cave, right? And well, you can imagine the scenario. We're under new management now, and we will move boldly into the future by embracing new styles. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so now you've got your way. Now, if you're looking to hack the culture, you actually got a huge prestige venue here in Carnegie, and that in itself will move mountains. And problem number 4, people see your genre as low class and anti-aspirational. But this is actually downstream of the other 3 problems, okay? Now, the solution to this is you turn that perception on its head by using friendly media.
LegalZoom makes it easy to start your business the right way. Starting your LLC isn't just about checking a box, it's about creating a solid...
Excuse me, sorry. You turn that perception on its head by using friendly media to push the message relentlessly. This new genre is the best thing going today. All of the cool kids are doing this. This new genre, if you're not doing it, there's something wrong with you. I tell you what, this new genre is, it is the best thing since Jesus, okay? Second, target the sources of prestige. We saw the example of Carnegie Hall there, okay? That's a prestige venue. If you can get the prestige venues, the prestige publications on board, you've won half the battle already, okay? Attack the alternatives as low class, okay? Now, it could be that the thing that you're attacking, like opera, for example, or classical music, These are some historic examples that have actually happened. Okay, Carnegie won't book your new thing because they keep on putting on Mozart concerts, right? Mozart or Beethoven. Well, you're not going to be able to convince people that Mozart and Beethoven are low class, right? But you can paint them as boring, outmoded, old-fashioned, etc., staid, right? There is a way of just changing the perception, change the vibe. Okay, people now, right, like to talk about quote unquote vibe shifts. But how does a vibe shift actually happen? It's not some magic. It's not something, oh, something's in the air. People in key places push the message of the vibe shift using key nodes of influence and control in exactly the manner I've outlined here. Okay, and if they all start saying it at the same time, then lo and behold, people will perceive the quote-unquote vibe shift. But in reality, the vibe has not like shifted of its own accord. It has been pushed, it has been forced in a particular way by people with vested interests, okay? And finally, once you have key nodes of high society and tastemakers, the public will program, right? They'll follow you, they'll follow the people, the tastemakers, and they'll actually believe it's their own opinion. They'll actually believe they've always thought this way, okay? That the taste that they have is their own kind of predilections, their own dreams, okay? And in this way, you program their dream. Now, let's look at our two chaps here. Remember, before you did all this, absolutely not. Disgusting carry on. I'd sooner gargle poison than attend such a grotesque display, remember? But now, oh, this new genre is the talk of the town. Bravo, bravo, I say. Oh, wonderful, wonderful stuff. And this guy on the right, I always said this was exactly what music is about. Splendid stuff. Oh, wonderful. Now, if you think people are not as shallow, as easily manipulated, and as malleable as this, then you haven't paid attention to what has actually happened over the past 100 years, because this story that I told you actually happened in real life. This is the actual story of jazz in the 1910s. Every single stage of this that I've talked about actually happened in real life. The American public didn't like jazz in the 1910s, but it was pushed, it was relent. All of these tactics, all of these solutions were put in. And so, by the end of a decade of this, by the time you get to the mid 1920s or the early 1920s, there was, lo and behold, a quote unquote vibe shift, because the tastemakers, the top-down process that I've talked about, had had a more or less a decade of this relentless pushing, not taking no for an answer, and lo and behold, by about 1920, oh, jazz is the national music now, or whatever it was. Okay. Now, if you're interested in this, a very good book to read is Propaganda by Edward Bernays, one of the absolute masters of this, and he was writing around this time as well, a little bit later, 20s and 30s, he was around. And he recognized these methods, and he further exploited them. And he made a lot of money, reprogramming the dreams of the American public. One of his great successes, famously, was getting women to smoke by reframing the issue, by saying, well, cigarettes are liberty sticks. You're smoking a little bit of freedom there. It represents your freedom. Okay, and that was such a successful campaign that I still even know now. I know at least one boomer now who's like, absolutely won't give up smoking cigarettes because they believe it to be their little slice of liberty. And now that campaign was almost 100 years ago. So it's remarkable